The strangest thing was the light in the room. Everything else was dark except for this one yellow beam coming through the blinds, catching the steam from her tea. She was stirring it with the spoon clinking like it was the most ordinary morning in the world. But nothing felt ordinary. I stood there, barefoot on the cold kitchen tile, watching her from the hallway like I didn't live here. She was humming. I hadn't heard her hum in months. That was the first alarm bell, not the sound, but the softness. It was too smooth, too rehearsed, like she was trying to control the air itself. Emily was in leggings and that old gray college hoodie I bought her 6 Christmases ago, the one she used to say was too big but perfect for lazy Sundays. She used to wear it when we'd lie on the couch and watch murder documentaries. Now she wore it like a costume, something meant to trigger comfort. She turned toward me with a smile. It was rehearsed too. "You want coffee?" she asked. I just shook my head. I was holding my phone like it was a knife. I had it tilted in my palm, the screen locked, but underneath, I could feel the weight of what I saw. The texts from last night. The name saved as Maddie. The texts that didn't read like a conversation between 2 coworkers or even friends. Nobody says "you taste like danger" to someone they're just brainstorming PowerPoint slides with. I had only seen a glimpse. I wasn't supposed to. She left her phone on the bathroom counter while brushing her teeth. One message lit up, "Can't stop thinking about last time. I still have scratches." Then it vanished under Face ID the moment she picked it up. That was enough. I didn't say anything then. I waited. Waited like you do when your car starts making a weird sound. You know it's bad, but you don't want to deal with it until you're stranded. I waited until last night. She had gone to an industry dinner. Wore the black wraparound dress I bought for our anniversary 3 years ago. The one she once called too revealing for anyone but me. She asked how she looked before leaving and I said, like someone I don't know. She laughed. When she got home just after midnight, I wasn't asleep. I was pretending to be, curled under the blanket, breathing slow. She stood in the bedroom doorway for a few seconds too long. I could feel her watching me like she was checking if I was real, or maybe checking if I had figured it out. This morning I asked her, "Did you enjoy your dinner?" She didn't flinch. Just said, "Yeah." The salmon was dry though. That's when she started humming. That's when she made tea. That's when I knew I had to break it. She turned away from the stove, holding the mug like it was the most delicate thing in the world, and she said it. "Don't be mad." I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even move. I just said what I'd been swallowing for weeks. "Don't be surprised when I'm not here." Her face shifted. Not sadness. Not guilt. Annoyance. Pure, cold, almost amused annoyance. She took a sip, set the mug down slowly, then leaned against the counter like we were talking about the weather. "What is this? Some kind of dramatic exit speech?" She looked at me like I was pathetic. Like I had interrupted a play she was starring in. "I've been patient," I said. "Yeah, well, patience doesn't mean ownership, Dave." My name in her mouth sounded different. Like a threat. Like a door slamming shut. I walked out of the kitchen. My hands were trembling. I went to the bedroom, picked up the envelope I had left under the bed for the last 2 weeks. Inside were copies of the hotel reservations, the screenshots, the bank statement with the spa charge that lined up perfectly with one of her overnight trips. I brought it back, dropped it on the table next to her mug. She didn't even look surprised. She just said, "Well, guess we're here now." And then she smiled. A soft, slow, infuriating smile. She picked up the envelope like it was some outdated utility bill. Flipped through the pages. No gasps. No excuses. Just that thin smile stretched across her face like it was glued there. "You've been busy," she muttered, turning over one of the printed screenshots. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Her silence said more than any stammered denial could have. And yet, she managed to twist it. She always did. "You really sat on all this like a dog guarding a bone, huh? How long did you wait, hoping I'd come clean?" I stared at her. She leaned back in the kitchen chair and crossed her legs, perfectly calm, like we were in a goddamn courtroom and she was the one holding the gavel. "You know what's messed up?" She continued, tapping one nail against the table. "You think this makes you noble. Like some tragic hero who's been wronged. But you were boring, Dave. Predictable. Always 2 steps behind and proud of it. What did you expect?" I blinked. Hard. "What I expected," I said, my voice barely holding steady, "was that the woman I married wouldn't gaslight me like I'm some background character in her soap opera." She actually laughed. A low, sarcastic chuckle that echoed in the tiled kitchen. "That's rich? You think this is new? You think this just started?" she asked, waving the papers like a fan. "God, Dave, you really don't know me at all. Or maybe you didn't want to." There was no remorse. Not even a flicker. Just contempt. And something worse, relief. She looked like someone finally unburdened. That hit harder than any confession would have. I gave you 10 years, I whispered. 10 years of loyalty, of choosing you every single day even when it got hard. And you just, what? Got bored. Don't act like you were some prize either, she shot back. You stopped trying, Dave. You were content. Comfortable. And I'm not. I never was. My hands clenched into fists on the table, but I didn't move. She leaned forward, elbows on the wood, eyes burning through mine. You want to know the truth? Fine. You already saw most of it. Yes, there's someone else. No, it wasn't just one time. And no, I'm not sorry. That moment. That exact line. It sliced through every memory I had of us laughing in the car, dancing in the living room, planning stupid themed date nights. All of it. She stood over those memories like a match in her hand, daring me to stop her. I walked out. Not because I was weak, but because I knew if I stayed another second I'd scream. I sat in my car, engine off, keys in hand. Milo, our dog, was in the passenger seat, his head tilted in that confused way he does when something's wrong. I rubbed his ears, trying to focus on the feeling of his fur instead of the firestorm burning through my chest. 10 years. Gone like breath on glass. And she didn't even flinch. I didn't know where I was going yet. But I knew one thing. I couldn't stay. I drove for over an hour with no destination. Just silence and the steady hum of the highway beneath my tires. My hands wouldn't stop twitching on the steering wheel. Every time I blinked, I saw her face calm, smug, unbothered as she said, "No, I'm not sorry." Like it was a punchline. I ended up at a gas station outside of town, sitting in the lot with the engine running. Milo whined in the seat next to me, sensing something was wrong. I fed him a piece of jerky from the glove box just to keep my own hands busy. My phone buzzed. "Emily, we should talk when you're calmer." I stared at it. Calmer? That word rattled something loose in my chest. She set the whole house on fire and now expected me to come back with a watering can and a hug? Another message popped in. "Emily, I'll be home tonight. Just don't do anything stupid." Stupid. She used to say that word teasingly. Now it stung. Like I was just some unpredictable variable in her carefully curated life. Like I was the mess. I didn't reply. I couldn't. Instead, I scrolled back through old photos. Her birthday last year, me holding a cake I baked from scratch, her laughing with frosting on her lip. A weekend trip to the coast, her hair whipping in the wind, arms wrapped around my neck. Then one I forgot existed. A blurry shot of her asleep on my chest, her hand clutching my shirt, my other hand cradling her head like something sacred. I almost dropped the phone. Because that woman, that version of her, she was dead. And the thing wearing her face now? I didn't recognize it. I didn't want to. I drove to my brother Nate's place. He lives 20 minutes out in a crumbling duplex with too many guitars and not enough chairs. He opened the door, saw my face, and didn't ask a single question. Just let me in and handed me a beer. I told him everything. Halfway through, I broke down. Not just tears. Full-on ugly sobbing, the kind that scrapes up your ribs and doesn't stop even when you run out of breath. Nate sat beside me, quiet, like he knew words would just get in the way. "She planned it, Nate," I finally said. "She planned every bit of it. Hid the messages, the receipts. Played me. She's AF **** in Villain," he muttered. "Straight up." "No," I whispered. "She's worse. Villains admit what they are." Later that night, while Milo slept on Nate's old beanbag and I laid on the couch staring at the ceiling, I got one last message from her. "Emily, if you leave, I'll tell everyone you were the one who cheated. Think about that." I didn't answer. But something inside me flipped. A switch I didn't know I had. Because now it wasn't just heartbreak. It was war. By morning I was a different man. Not healed, God, no. But hollowed out. Sharpened. There was no more pleading in my head, no hoping she'd suddenly wake up and realize what she destroyed. She already knew. She liked the wreckage. I started making lists. It sounds stupid, but I needed order. I needed logic. Something to cling to when everything else felt like quicksand. First list, what I knew. Second list, what she didn't know I knew. That one got longer. I had the chat logs, screenshots, the hotel records. But there was more. Audio messages accidentally backed up to our shared cloud. Calendar invites to conferences she never mentioned. Even a Venmo payment to someone named Martin Wineglass with the caption, "Last night was unreal, face blowing a kiss." I forwarded it all to myself, created a new folder, and labeled it Insurance. Because if Emily wanted to start painting me as the villain, I'd make sure I had the entire gallery ready. I went back to the house that afternoon. Not to talk. Not to argue. I waited until I knew she was at work. or wherever she pretended to be. I had copies of the keys. She never bothered to change the locks. The place felt alien. Her perfume still lingered in the hallway. One of her high heels was kicked under the entryway bench like she came home drunk and couldn't even bother with appearances. The throw blanket on the couch was bunched like it had been used recently. I didn't let myself imagine who had been there. Instead, I walked straight to the bedroom, opened the top drawer of her nightstand, and found exactly what I thought I might. A burner phone. Black, cheap, one of those disposable models you can get at a gas station. It was powered off. I took it and left. Didn't touch anything else. That night, Nate helped me break into the phone. He's good with that stuff. Always has been. And the minute it unlocked, I felt my stomach drop. Texts to someone saved as C. C, you looked like Sin in that dress. Emily, you should have seen his face when I came home. Had no clue. C, what if he finds out? Emily, he won't. He's harmless. Harmless. That word played on loop in my head. I printed everything. All of it. Slipped it into another folder. Marked this one. For when. I wasn't sure what when meant yet. Divorce. Confrontation. Maybe just leverage. But something had changed. She wasn't just cheating. She was mocking me for not knowing. She was staging it like a game. I got one more message that night. Emily, we need to talk. You can't ignore me forever. I'm not the enemy here. I almost laughed. Enemy? No. Enemies at least acknowledge the fight. She thought she was above the battlefield. But I was coming. And I wasn't coming unarmed. The first time I saw her again after everything, it was like standing in front of a mirror and not recognizing my own reflection. Same face, same walk, same voice. But the woman who sat across from me in that cafe was not my wife. She was a stranger wearing my wife's skin. She picked the place, of course. Neutral territory. Trendy. Loud enough for privacy. Quiet enough for manipulation. She walked in 10 minutes late wearing the blue coat I gave her for her promotion. She wore it like armor now. She sat, folded her hands, and gave me a look that tried to be soft. Calculated. Manipulative. Like a magician getting ready to misdirect. I didn't want it to go this way, she began. You had a dozen chances to stop it, I said, not blinking. She tilted her head, lips pressed tight. I made mistakes. Mistakes. Like she had forgotten to take out the trash. Not like she'd set fire to our marriage and danced in the ashes. I didn't respond. I just placed the envelope on the table between us. Her eyes flicked to it. A flicker of something passed through her. Nerves? Doubt? Maybe fear? But it vanished before I could catch it. She opened it. Inside, the burner phone transcript, the messages to C, screenshots of her mocking me. The photos. All of it. She went still. Not shocked. Not defensive. Just still. Then she looked up and gave me the same smug smile she wore the night I left. So what's this, Dave? Blackmail? You trying to scare me into groveling? I leaned forward. This is a reminder that I'm not the harmless idiot you think I am. That hit something. Her nostrils flared. Just for a second. I don't want to play games, she said. No, you wanted to build a second life while I held the door open for you. She reached for her coffee like we were discussing the weather. You've always had a flair for melodrama. That was her angle now. Make me seem unhinged, obsessive. Flip the script. Recast herself as the weary woman trapped by an over-emotional husband. I saw through it. Let's get to it, I said. What do you want? An easy split? To keep the house? What? She paused. I want you to drop it. That made me laugh. Out loud. I leaned back in my chair and let it out like it physically couldn't stay in anymore. You want me to drop it? I asked. After the lies, the gaslighting, the months of pretending I was crazy for asking questions? You're not a victim, Dave, she hissed. You're just boring. You got complacent. I needed more. That line? It silenced the entire room inside me. No more shaking hands. No more twisted guts. Just cold, calm clarity. I stood. You'll hear from my lawyer. Dave, save it. And I walked out. That night, I slept for the first time in weeks. Not well. Not fully, but without waking up in cold sweats, without flinching at phantom sounds, because now I knew exactly who she was. And I was done trying to rescue someone who lit the boat on fire and blamed me for the drowning. The divorce papers were delivered on a Thursday morning. I paid extra to make sure it was done in person. I wanted her to sign them with the weight of someone watching. Not for revenge. For reality. She needed to know I wasn't bluffing. That her reign of smug smirks and smugger silences was over. Nate helped me draft the statement of assets. He's no lawyer, but he knows numbers, and I needed someone with a clearer head. The house? I was willing to give it up. The car? She could keep it. The only thing I insisted on was the dog, Milo. I wasn't going to let her fake affection extend to the one soul who still waited at the door for me like I was the son. She didn't respond right away. Not even a text. Typical Emily. Control through silence. Delay through indifference. She'd done it during arguments before. Gone mute just long enough to make me question if I'd overreacted. But I wasn't the same man anymore. A week passed. Then came a knock on Nate's door at 9:42 p.m. It was her. Dressed like she was coming from one of her make-believe strategy meetings, blazer, heels, a sharp red lipstick that looked more like war paint now. She didn't ask to come in. She just pushed past me like she still had access to the life she burned down. I read it, she said, holding the envelope like it was contaminated. And? I'm not signing. I shut the door behind her. Calmly. Quietly. But my jaw locked. Why? She shrugged. Because this isn't how I wanted things to end. You cheated. Lied. Mocked me. How exactly did you want it to end? She sat on Nate's armrest like it was her living room, then crossed her legs with surgical elegance. I wanted to be the one who left first. That was it. That was the reason. Not love. Not remorse. Just pride. She didn't want me to leave her. She wanted to be the one who walked away. With the story. The pity. The spotlight. I'm not playing that role, I said. She narrowed her eyes. You always hated losing control. You never had to lie to win it. Her mouth twitched. And then she said the line that made something in me snap. I did what I had to do to feel alive again. Alive. Like I was a coffin. A cage. A coma. I took a breath. Not to calm down, there was no calming that. But to mark the moment. The precise second I stopped loving her. You felt alive betraying the one person who trusted you completely? She stood, brushing imaginary lint from her sleeve. You can make this easy or make it ugly. Either way, I'll come out ahead. Wrong move. I opened the side drawer, took out another envelope, this one heavier. It contained everything. Emails, chats, timestamps, receipts. Not to humiliate her. Not even for court. Just to show her I wasn't scared. Not anymore. I handed it to her. She stared at it. And for the first time since this whole thing began, I saw her mask slip. Just a crack. Her hand tightened. Her smile faltered. You should leave, I said. She did. Without another word. That was the night I knew she wasn't coming back, not as my wife, not as my enemy, not as anything. And I didn't want her to. I didn't hear from her for 10 days after that night. 10 full days. No texts. No threats. No middle-of-the-night manipulations wrapped in let's be adults language. It was silence, but not peace. The kind of silence that hums beneath your skin, makes you check the locks twice, look over your shoulder at every red light. Because you know it's not over. You just don't know what form the next hit will take. On day 11, it arrived on letterhead. Her lawyer. A cease and desist. Claiming emotional harassment, retaliatory behavior, and unauthorized invasion of privacy. It was rich, really. The woman who built an entire side relationship on a burner phone now claiming I was violating her boundaries. I read the letter 3 times. Then I laughed. Nate didn't laugh. Nate was furious. This is what she does, man, he said. She can't win with the truth, so she changes the rules. Twists the story. Makes you the threat. He was right. This wasn't about legality. This was about leverage. Image. Emily was getting ahead of the narrative. She was laying the groundwork for a character assassination in case this went public, or if anyone in our circle started asking too many questions. I called my lawyer, Sarah, from a firm I found through a recommendation at work. Sharp as hell. She read the letter and smirked. She's bluffing, she said. But we'll respond properly. Officially. And if she wants to escalate, we'll be ready. I gave Sarah everything. The files. The burner phone. The texts, the photos, the receipts. She was stunned at first. Not by the evidence, but by the callousness in Emily's messages. She doesn't even pretend to feel bad, Sarah muttered. No, I said. She never did. While the legal machine turned its gears, I focused on my own life. I moved out of Nate's place and into a one-bedroom rental downtown. Sparse. Clean. New. No shadows clinging to the walls. Milo adjusted quickly. He liked the big windows and the steady traffic noise. I think on some level he knew we were starting over. I started sleeping with the windows open. Started drinking black coffee again. Started slowly, remembering what it was like to live without looking over my shoulder. But the cracks were still there. The flashbacks, the second-guessing, the moments where I'd look at a stranger on the street and wonder if she was feeding him the same lines she once whispered to me, telling him how alive she felt, laughing at old jokes I used to think were ours. Then, on a rainy Tuesday night, she called. Not her lawyer. No warning. Just her name lighting up the screen like a ghost knocking on the door. I let it ring, but she called again, and again, until finally, against all reason, I picked up. I didn't say anything. She didn't either. Just breathing. Soft. Controlled. Then, I thought we could talk. About what? A pause. About how we got here. I almost laughed. You burned the bridge, Emily. There's no we left to get anywhere. Another pause. Longer this time. You used to love me. I did. And you used to be someone worth loving. Silence. Then she said it. I miss being needed. That wasn't an apology. It was a confession. And it told me everything I needed to know. The line went quiet after that. She didn't hang up. Just waited. Like I was supposed to fill the silence with something warm. Something foolish. Like forgiveness. I miss being needed. That's what she said. Not you. Not us. She missed the feeling of control, of purpose, of being worshipped by someone who built his whole world around her and never thought to lock the doors. I waited 5 long seconds, then hung up. The next morning I had 2 voicemails. Both from her. The first was calm, calculated, almost sweet, asking if we could meet one last time to talk like adults. The second? A full 180, bitter, accusatory, accusing me of dragging her name through the mud, of turning friends against her. You don't get to rewrite history, Dave, she snapped. You're not innocent. She wanted a reaction. She didn't get one. I forwarded both voicemails to my lawyer. Sarah told me to keep everything. Every message. Every call. She's spiraling, she said. And people like her? They only get louder when they realize they're losing control. I should have been scared. I wasn't. I was done. The real turning point came a week later, during the mediation session. We sat across from each other in a gray room that smelled like stale coffee and cheap printer ink. Emily came in dressed like a politician. Sharp blazer, pearls, even a small gold pin on her lapel. Her lawyer looked bored. Mine looked ready. I didn't say a word. Sarah did all the talking. Calm, professional, surgical. When she laid out the documentation, every lie, every receipt, every timestamp, Emily's mask cracked for the second time. Not wide, just a flicker of panic behind her eyes. A twitch in her left cheek. This wasn't supposed to be so thorough, she muttered under her breath. That's what hit me. That sentence. It wasn't about right or wrong for her. It was about convenience. She expected me to unravel quietly, disappear with my dignity trailing behind me like toilet paper stuck to my shoe. She didn't expect me to fight back with facts. The mediator asked if either party wanted to speak directly. Emily glanced at her lawyer, then at me. I think we both know things weren't perfect, she said. But we were something. And you don't just erase that. I looked her straight in the eye. You didn't erase it. You sold it for hotel receipts and text messages that wouldn't even make a good paperback. Even her lawyer winced. We finalized the agreement that day. She gave up the house, kept her car. I got Milo, and more importantly, I got freedom. Walking out of that room was like surfacing after being held underwater too long. I didn't look back. She didn't follow. Life after her didn't explode into a montage of triumph. There was no dramatic piano score, no epiphany over whiskey in the moonlight. There was just quiet. But the quiet was mine. I'd wake up before the sun, pour a cup of coffee, take Milo for a walk through the sleeping streets, and just breathe. It wasn't peace, not yet, but it was a beginning. And beginnings, I'd come to learn, don't have fireworks. They just have space, and silence, and slow healing. The gossip didn't take long to catch up. Mutual friends started texting. "Hey man, just heard. You okay? Emily said you ghosted her? That you never even tried to fix things?" One even said she was heartbroken. I didn't respond to any of it. She was building her version of the story. I let her. Let her twist the timeline and frame me as the inattentive husband, the emotionally distant, ungrateful man who drove her into someone else's arms. Let her write that fiction for those who still listened. I wasn't playing the PR game. But privately, I wrote everything down. Every detail. Every lie. Every message. I wasn't planning to share it. I wasn't looking for pity or validation. I just didn't want to forget. Because the truth has a funny way of softening with time. The longer you let it sit unspoken, the more tempting it becomes to rewrite it in your favor or theirs. One night, I bumped into her by accident. I was at a bar with Nate, celebrating the end of a contract I'd just landed. We were 2 beers in when I looked up, and there she was, across the room, standing with a group of people I half recognized from old office parties. Our eyes met. She smiled. Not the cruel, smug smile. Something else. Uncertain. Maybe even regretful. And for the first time, I didn't feel heat in my chest. I didn't feel anger, or pain, or longing. I felt nothing. She didn't come over. I didn't wave. She turned back to her crowd, and I went back to my drink. That's when I realized I had made it through the storm. Not untouched, but unbroken. Emily's chapter was closed. Not slammed. Not scorched. Just turned. Later that night, back at my apartment, Milo curled up on my feet while I stared out the window at the city lights. I opened the old folder one last time. Looked at everything I had saved, the receipts, the screenshots, even the voicemails. Then I deleted it all. Not out of mercy. Out of closure. I had carried it long enough. Some endings don't come with applause. They come with a quiet, steady kind of stillness. The kind where you sit in your own space, in your own skin, and realize, maybe for the first time, that you're no longer surviving someone else. You're just living. It's been 5 months. Emily's name doesn't come up much anymore. Not in texts. Not in thoughts. Occasionally, in memories, flickers of a life that once felt permanent. But even those are dimming. Like a radio station you've driven too far from. I've built a new rhythm. I got a better job, remote work, consulting for a startup in Portland. I picked up running again, something I hadn't done since our 3rd year together. I even joined a local trivia group on Thursdays. It's stupid fun. I'm the only one who knows all the weird 90s sitcom facts, but they let me stay. Milo's healthier than ever. He's not just my dog now, he's my anchor. We go on long hikes every weekend. He runs ahead, chasing birds and sticks, but always looks back to make sure I'm still there. One night, after a particularly brutal thunderstorm, I got a message from an unknown number. "Emily, do you ever wonder if we could have fixed it?" I didn't reply. Not because I didn't have words, but because that version of me, the one who would have jumped at that question, who would have stayed up until 3 a.m. dissecting every "what if he's gone?" buried with the ashes of the man she didn't think could ever leave. I've learned a few things since then. That love doesn't mean loyalty when it's only going one way. That trust, once shattered, doesn't glue itself back together with apologies and empty promises. That healing isn't a finish line, it's a process. A slow, grueling one. But it's real. And that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to forgive or forget. It's to walk away without needing to be understood. I won't lie, there are days when I still feel the echo. When I wake up and instinctively reach for the side of the bed she used to warm. When I see something funny and think for a split second she'd laugh at that. But the echo doesn't hurt anymore. It just reminds me that I lived through it. That I made it out. So, to anyone reading this who's in the thick of it, who's staring at the wreckage, wondering if it's their fault, if they could have been more, let me tell you something. You weren't too little. They were too much of the wrong thing. And you're allowed to leave the fire even if they're still smiling in the flames. You owe them nothing. But you owe yourself everything. That's what I learned.